Diablo 4 receive endgame update, the thing that's most important for the game. So let's delve into it and I share my thoughts with you now. I seen it once and it feels like not a disaster, but it doesn't feel good. They need to think about everything and make drastic changes, but let's look and we talk along the way.
We're really excited about getting this game into players' hands and letting them experience this massive world.
A main cornerstone of D4 is play your way. As a player continues to advance through the story and into the endgame, they'll unlock a ton of brand new activities that provide meaningful progression, no matter.
You should not even talk about the story. It's the endgame. Story is a one thing in Diablo 3, in Path of Exile, and endgame should be a completely different game. Do not talk about the story. With those that want to play, we do not care about Hollywood story and narration. It's fine for the game to have it for casual playing, play once through story and switch to other game, like 90% of people will do in Diablo 4. What you gonna do with the end game? That's important.
Their playstyle.
Players to be able to keep progressing in the narrative of the game. Alongside that, the whole
game narrative of the game. Again, they're focusing on that.
team has worked on crafting a variety of different experiences players can pursue.
We're going to have an entire world of Sanctuary for our players to offer. There's going to never be an absence of something to do.
After the player has finished the campaign, there's a lot more game to go and participate in. They gain access to a special, what we call capstone dungeon that they have to complete. Once they're able to finish this capstone,
you don't have to call it capsule dungeon like it's a freaking laboratory. Call it like it is. Diablo 3 Greater Rifts, Nephalem Rifts, Sanctuary Rifts. Capsule what? What capsule?
dungeon, they're going to gain access to the first world tier.
As you complete the world tier, it will open up the opportunity for you to go into your next world tier. That involves unlocking powerful loot, new items, and more advantages for your player to have a better opportunity at end game.
Whether you're a fan of dungeons, PvP, or just roaming around the world, there's a way to continue your Diablo adventure long after hitting max level. As your character continues to grow in power, you'll start with.
It looks the same like in beta. This should be like 10 times the size of what you gave in beta if you want a proper endgame. Your list of active skills, Blizzard, is way too small. Way too small.
Out into the Paragon system.
A lot of the choices the players make are grounded on skills themselves and the fantasies associated with those skills.
Strength, int, willpower, and dex. They are glyphs, and then there are legendary nodes, those yellow things, alright, that you can ram up to by going similar like in Path of Exile. +5, +10 to some stat, and then you go and check out the next legendary power. Okay, this is fine, but it depends how the game is gonna be balanced for this to actually work. Or better to say, it depends on the amount of content in the end game, if this is important or not. And now we're gonna go to that.
Paragon board is a place where we're allowed to have a lot more depth, a lot more customization.
Legendary node chip shot. You deal 5% increased damage for each nearby enemy that is crowd controlled, up to 25%. It sounds like a legendary item. Alright, it doesn't sound like some passive like in action RPGs that actually changes the way how you play. It sounds like a legendary item passive. Alright, it really sounds like that.
More depth, a lot more customization, many more options as you go.
You can rotate the board, so you can choose a different path if you're like, I want to do more.
This is a cool part. This is what I like about all of this. I don't know how they call it. Paragon, I think. Paragon leveling.
Strength-based things, right? I want these
92 Paragon points.
particular boons or glyphs. You can chart your path through it, and they're really a way for you to keep expanding your character and making it uniquely yours.
Similar to the Paragon
We've
boards
seen this
is
in
the Codex
beta.
of Power. It's an in-game system that holds the aspects related to the character. You are able to complete a dungeon and they will have a chance to drop an aspect that you can
Codex
pick
of
up.
Power.
And what this allows players to do is take items they're finding in the world and make them more powerful, turn them into legendary items.
It's really special to
already
discover
know
what kind of
that.
playstyle really means the most to you.
We've already seen that in beta.
Every part of Sanctuary is fulfilling and satisfying. Dungeons in particular are really close to my heart. Nightmare dungeons are going to give the players the opportunity to experience a dungeon that they might have already experienced in their past playthroughs. They'll enter the dungeon with a found sigil that alters the playstyle and the intensity of the dungeon.
They're more difficult and they have additional objectives, and then they also have affixes, which add a degree of difficulty for you and your group to work through.
One of my favorite affixes that you can find in Nightmare Dungeons is actually called Hellgate. Occasionally, these portals will open up throughout
This
the
is
area
all quiet.
that will just pour
I
out
like it,
different monsters
but
that
it's
aren't
not
native
enough.
to that region for you to also be dealing with while you're trying to handle everything else inside the dungeon. There's over 120 dungeons to play through and find in Diablo IV, and any one of them can become a Nightmare dungeon by finding a Nightmare sigil and then using it to activate the Nightmare version of that dungeon space.
Everything's a little darker, everything's more difficult. It's going to add a little bit of a twist of flavor on your particular dungeon.
There's some targeted activities in Diablo IV that suit what you're feeling in the mood for.
The Forces of Hell are starting to have more influence in certain parts of Sanctuary in the vast interconnected overworld of the experience. And as the players are going into Helltide areas, you're gonna find even more powerful monsters. And by killing them, they'll be able to gain these special shards they can take to go and use to purchase these big rewards that are available at these caches that are found littered throughout Helltide areas.
The sky darkens and the rivers run red, meteors fall from the sky, and the monsters get harder. We really want to create new experiences for the players. There's one I really like called Whispers of the Dead, which you get from the Tree of Whispers. The Tree of Whispers is grim and a little gruesome, but it's also something mystically haunting and kind of beautiful.
The tree has a little bit of a grudge against
The tree is actually bounties from Diablo 3. They could easily do the same name. Bounties, man. You don't need to change names to be cool. It's bounties.
our players and would like for them to go serve its need.
Basements. Basements, at least in beta, are exactly the same basements from Diablo 3. Completely useless. Okay. And in 99.99% of time, they give nothing, way too small maps. These basements should always have an event, something that's mega hard and rewarding to actually enter the basement. Basements are the biggest crap in Diablo 4 beta, and I hope to see a huge change for the full release.
So you're going to go serve these bounties, gather different rewards, different items, and bring them back to the tree in hopes that it can exchange you something really meaningful.
Maybe you're going to go to the Fractured Peaks and take out some werewolves that are rampaging in a town. They're contained activities that you can do alone or in a group. We really wanted to create variety for people to be able to spend time where they wanted to in the world. It's very cool the way it's been put together, and I can't wait for people to see it, to be honest.
In Diablo 4, we have a focus on the world of Sanctuary. And there are parts of that world that we call the Fields of Hatred, where Lilith's presence in Sanctuary has begun to seep through and manifest these poisonous areas throughout the world. When players go to these regions, they get to engage in player versus player conflict.
These offer opportunities.
PvP is not a thing you can actually do from the start in any game, especially not in action RPGs. Why? PvP should be there once the game is balanced. I doubt that Diablo 4 will be balanced in the first 6 months to a year, and they talk about PvP. You need to talk about the actual things to do after you're done with campaign, not PvP. No one will enjoy PvP. There's gonna be that 0.5% of people that will have OP builds, depends on drops, depends on balancing, and 99% of them is gonna die from those that are OP because the game won't be balanced. So who cares about PvP if your endgame content sucks? You need ladders, you need challenges. Okay, we're gonna talk about it once the video is done.
Opportunities for the player to collect shards. But there is a little bit of a catch. In order to get these shards back to town, you will need to purify them. Other players will definitely know that you're attempting.
It's like in, what was the name? Army men, raise the flag, protect the banner for the next upgrade now. Hey, that's what it is, protect the point to get the loot from other players in PvP. Like, come on, that can be fun for an hour, 2, 3, 5 hours. What are you gonna do after that?
To purify your shards. So you'd better be prepared to fight if you're going to be playing any PvP, and be prepared that you might lose some stuff in the meantime.
Once they've got the purified shards, they can take these, go back to nearby towns to sell them, and then use that to buy a whole bunch of like interesting cosmetic items.
And use that to buy cosmetic items with shards, okay? I forgot from beta how they call the shards. Basically, it's the blood shards from Diablo 3 where you gamble, alright? With Kadala. That's fine, the game should have that, but why you talk about things that we know? This is endgame content video. Why you talk about 70% of the things that we already know? What's new? Talk about what's gonna be new. The endgame.
Items and rewards.
It's a place for people who really love PvP and want to still get loot and still increase their character's power. If that's the way they want to play, they can.
Launch is just the beginning. One of the things we're really focused on is creating a living, breathing set of updates for players to engage with after the game has gone live.
It's really just going to...
This is the most important words in the video. After the game has gone live. They don't know what they want to do. This is how it sounds to me. We're gonna release and we're gonna hear what people are saying. Let them play, have fun for 2-3 weeks. And then focus on patches, focus on new content for additional seasons. Right now, it seems like that's it, believe it or not. And that's the thing I don't like. I really don't like this. Because even they don't know what they want to do.
Be a way to keep coming back and experiencing more Diablo 4 in fresh ways.
We're really eager to hear all of your experiences and just enjoy the entire story with you all.
New world bosses and so on. I don't care that much about new world bosses and what they're gonna present in terms of graphics and you know what happens right now. I'm playing Diablo 3 Season 28 and they added with this latest patch a very cool thing called the Altar of Rights that drastically changes the game. That you need to do stuff, okay, in order to upgrade all of this. And this is the part of the end game that Diablo 4 needs. Something like this, okay. That's the first thing that you should copy from Diablo 3. The second thing that you should copy from Diablo 3 would be bounties. And you got it in that tree of whatever the hell you want to name it, okay? And the third thing that they should copy is Nephilim and Greater Rifts. Now they call it capsule dungeons, okay? I didn't see any timer for Greater Rifts, and when there is no timer, like in Diablo 3 on Greater Rifts, it doesn't put pressure on a player. You need timed dungeons, alright? Then you need unique specific items that's gonna unlock specific bosses, like for example over here in Tristram, alright, where you unlock portals to bosses, they're gonna scale up, you know, things to do, man, things to do. That's what you need to advance, to have that gambling factor in the game and not ruin the overall balance. Then, now I say it, Diablo 3 endgame content is very casual. It's not enough. It can't get compared to Path of Exile. Alright, so what you need to do, Blizzard, some of you should go and play Path of Exile. Now, I don't say how you should make Diablo 4 Path of Exile, God forbid. Path of Exile is way too complex for 99% of people, but you could think about the endgame, delving in Path of Exile, going through those mines deeper underground. You can have dungeons, randomly generated dungeons that go deeper and deeper underground with specific upgrades, with specific buffs, okay? some dungeon that has no end. Once you reach the point where you can't progress anymore, that means you need to go back to do something else, farm, come back to the dungeon and delve deeper into the dungeon. That's the first thing you need as an endgame. The second thing that you need in the endgame is leather. Okay, leather for like 5-6 different type of endgame content, for, I don't know, greater refs, for bounties, how fast you can do something, and then your loot depends on that, and then you have a ladder, okay, where you compare your time with other people. That's gonna help a lot. Then you can do something like robbing dungeons. Okay, there is that robbing part in Path of Exile, which is very fun. You can do something similar in the endgame for Diablo IV. Something more casual, but still it changes the amount of things that you can do. Now add on top of that the events, bounties, world bosses, alright? Then you can have something for the end game. So what I wanna say is, if you wanna have a good end game, you need like 10, not 10, now it's 2023, you need like 20 different things to do, okay? To play 20 different things that gonna change the way how you play, to do different stuff. Not talking about PvP and about campaign. That's not the end game. Okay, it's not. Then you need things like Kanai's Cube, where you extract passives, you mix up things, you switch builds, change stuff, okay, so you can actually advance further. If only someone from Blizzard is capable of playing Path of Exile for the mega late content, okay? If they can just see the amount of different things that you can do and play with different objectives, with different progression, and do that the same for Diablo IV, just make it more casual, then it's gonna be a great game with a great end game, because it already looks awesome, okay, Diablo IV, but they need content. They should just stop talking about crap and show us the real thing. How you can do that stuff? You can do it by having a different skill tree for every type of endgame content. A different skill tree like the altar here is for the regular map, then for the dungeons, then modifiers, then I don't know, items that gonna enhance, change those dungeons, make different objectives, endless dungeons. They need to do different stuff. Okay, what I've seen is not enough. What I've seen in that trailer says play our campaign, play some PvP, test it out, and we don't know what we're gonna do with endgame. That's how they sounded, man. I pray they're gonna listen to the community. I pray that Diablo 4 will be a great game, but right now, from what I've seen, that's nothing. Okay, absolutely nothing. I know it can be way much better. And my first thoughts about Diablo 4 beta, if you remember in my videos, were they're gonna make it as casual as they can in the first 6 months or a year. Once 90% of people stops playing and transfer to other games, casual players, 10% of us will be left with Diablo 4, raging on Blizzard because we don't have enough to play, and then they're gonna start updating and getting new content, new things to do in upcoming seasons. But that first season, did not expect a lot out of first season. It's a huge open full beta test, basically. You should just have fun and see what can Blizzard do in the next 6 months. So I would say around January, February 2024, we should see some drastic changes about the endgame in Diablo 4. Not before that. It's gonna be as casual as it can get. Unfortunately, that's life. First objective for Blizzard is to earn money, and then once they earn money, if they have mercy, they will give us real, proper endgame content to play with. Anyways, that will be my thoughts about Diablo 4. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you on the next one. Thanks for watching.